It's not uncommon for people to pit Mario and Sonic against each other. They're both so similar and they've had a close relationship. They've been rivals when the Genesis does what Nintendo don't, but they've also been friends when they hang out at the Olympics. However, they've never exactly seen eye to eye when it comes to racing. Mario's kept it simple and for the family, where Sonic has invited everyone he knows to come race as fast as possible. Somehow, both of these long-running series received entries just a few months apart, and today I want to take a look at these games and the rivalry between these two, and talk about these two massive installments. Both of these games have tried to revolutionize the kart racer genre with some big new steps. However, I think only one of these games succeeds and the other falls flat. I want to dissect why I think this way about these games. Of course, this isn't to say Mario Kart World is outright bad and Sonic Racing Crossworlds is objectively the best game ever. It still does come down to personal preference on what you prefer. I just have a lot of problems with World that I feel like Crossworlds avoids. I do need to lay a bit of groundwork though. You all know what a kart racer is. You've played Mario Kart. You might have even played a Crash Team Racing Nitro Field, a little bit of a Disney Speedstorm, or maybe the ever-iconic Shrek Kart. It's a spin on the racing genre that places a higher emphasis on cartoony physics and being filled to the brim with items. The kart stems from go-karts, since the vehicles that are driven are usually much smaller than normal cars, and with the character popping out at the top. Mario Kart has been the leading franchise of this genre for forever, and I doubt that'll stop. Sonic has entered this genre before, and it ranges from pretty solid to one of the worst racing games I've ever played. Mario has always been inventing and transforming the genre, finding new twists to put onto it. Instead of one character with one item, why not two characters with two items? How about a drift that you can charge to multiple levels? On the other hand, Sonic has always been about creating a crossover racing game. Aside from those two times, they're both party games, but Mario's has always been more about celebrating its own franchise with new locations and opening the doors to a younger audience. Sonic has always been targeting the older fans. The games often have a higher barrier of entry, and with the crossover characters usually pulling from older Sega franchises. Both of their new games seem to have tried to expand upon these ideas. Mario put all of the race courses into one continent and allows you to drive through it to them and explore the world with the new parkour system. Sonic is introducing new crossover characters outside of just Sega franchises that, well, I mean, they're no Team Fortress or Wreck-It Ralph, but they also increase the skill ceiling even more with the gadget system. I'm going to look at these games and compare and contrast what they do. I'll try to go into detail and explain why I think Mario Kart World failed to evolve and why I think Sonic Racing Crossworlds might be in the argument for one of the best kart racers ever made. Also, side note, Crossworlds is super moddable, so you'll likely be seeing modded footage pop up. I'm just warning you in advance in case you see Bart Simpson on a hoverboard. Also, make sure to like and subscribe, please. I want to hit a 4-digit amount of subscribers. Please, this is all I have! Let's start with good old Mario.
Hello!
What? Mario Kart World is an $80 USD game that can come bundled with a Nintendo Switch 2 at $30 cheaper. That's personally how I purchased the game. So, because of the game's price point at $80, I might be bringing that up when I'm discussing it. Game prices have always been awkward, but this is the first Mario Kart game to hit that price point. So, is it worth the $80? I would not say so. That's not to say the game is bad, like it's fine, it's still fun. It has some pretty glaring problems though. But I think if you want a fun, family racing game like Mario Kart, this game is perfectly fine. It's when you start to look at it much closer that starts to feel a lot more rough. The parkour system feels weird to use, the trick system makes no sense, and the track design is just really odd. I've seen some people pull off really stylish stuff with the trick system, so I know that in the hands of a capable racer, it can be used for some cool stuff, but I've put about 40 hours into this game and I still don't get it. Parkouring from wall to wall makes enough sense, but it's really about how you get on it that messes with me. Charging the jump feels too long, sometimes I'm not even sure if you're supposed to jump at all, and the aerial control you have over your cart feels far too stiff. The trick system also just doesn't work, I think? You can spam it all you want in the air, but it doesn't relate to giving you a bonus after a single trick. Unless you're gliding, in which case you don't get a boost to your speed at all. It's fun that each character has a handful of unique trick animations and that costumes can sometimes add an extra one, but without a deeper system, it can feel meaningless. In the previous title, you had to time your trick button with launching off a ramp to get the boost, whereas now you can just spam it to get the same speed. I don't understand the change. It removes a lot of the skill and only stands to make it more confusing. I might be wholly misunderstanding the system, and if that's the case, that's not okay. The track design is extremely odd. Perhaps it's because of the doubled amount of racers per race, but the tracks feel very wide. That's not to say there haven't been wide tracks before, but almost every track in this game feels like the roads are far wider than they need to be, with minor exceptions. This makes a lot of turns feel easier, and it leaves races feeling more dull. Less so do I feel like I'm racing against the other racers. I feel like we're all driving together on our commute to work. This is all probably because of the elephant in the room, and I'm not talking about faraway Oasis. Mario Kart World's big central selling point is the open world. It's aight. I can see why people might enjoy it, but it's really not what I want out of a racing game. The most I've enjoyed from it is taking photos with the game's admittedly really good camera mode. It's just way too simple. The area between courses feel way too long and empty. The items you collect aren't placed on the map once you find them. You can't even place your own markers. The only rewards that you get for finding the hidden secrets or completing the P-Switch missions are stickers. Stickers are the form of cart customization for the game, and they are really disappointing. You can only choose one sticker to equip, and whilst it does show up next to your icon, which is neat, it's also meant to be placed on your cart, I think? Some carts have the sticker prominently displayed, whereas I'm not even sure if it's on some others. For these being the main source of collectibles driving the open world exploration, it feels extremely unrewarding. The systems here don't feed into each other. Once you've found the sticker you want to use, there's no incentive to go out and hunt more down. Another thing that stems from the open world are the intermission tracks. It's a fun idea, but a lot of them are just very straight lines with minimal turns until you get to the track you actually want to race on. Then you get a single lap. The entire thing feels underbaked and not fully thought out. Maybe if the tracks were like closer together so the intermissions weren't as long, it could be a lot more bearable, but as it stands, they're just long slogs that aren't fun. But don't worry, okay? No, don't worry. They made an entire new mode that's just intermissions! No! Knockout Tour is a new mode introduced in Mario Kart World that is as bad as it sounds. Intermission tracks are already shoved into the Grand Prix mode, completely changing the entire feel of it. So why does Knockout Tour exist? It gets fun once there's a few people left, I won't deny that, but for the first 4 minutes or so, it just feels like you're either getting crushed by items or bagging like your life depends on it. The mode doesn't feel thought out. The intermissions are by far the worst thing about this game. It could be that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe spoiled me when it came to speed, but my favorite tracks in that game felt fast and frantic. I made like a whole video ranking them. None of the tracks in this game come anywhere close to like the top 21 tracks from that game, and I think it's because the intermissions are forced into it. The Grand Prix is my favorite mode from any racing game, and it doesn't help that most of my opinions on the tracks have been soured thanks to the intermissions. It doesn't help that they all use very similar theming to whatever track they're around, which doesn't help them stand out, and every intermission has the same obstacles. They turned 70% of the game into Toad's Turnpike. I didn't even really like that track. It was 68th place in my ranking. The game is just full of weird decisions. Like, okay, let's look at the roster, for example. The roster is incredibly important to a racing game. So, on one hand, I like what they did. Adding in some weird enemy picks is a really fun idea. It's made me fall in love with characters I wouldn't really care about, like Fishbones, Sidestepper, or Peepa. I love Peepa, this is beautiful. It's really fun to see iconic staples from the Mario franchise finally get their dues, like Rocky Wrenches and the Hammer Bro. It's also really cool to see some weird picks, like Conk Door and Snowman. I also really like the costumes. Once you've unlocked them, the costumes have made some characters I like even more enjoyable. My goat Shy Guy, yeah, those goggles and beanie make him even cooler. Sailor Koopa, that's adorable. Biker Waluigi is the best he's ever looked, and Sightseeing Mario is a great outfit. It's also made me like characters I previously didn't. I've never been a huge fan of the Mario princesses aside from Daisy, but Peach's aviator and touring outfits look great. I like pretty much all of Rosalina's alts. I think it's just her base design I don't like, funnily enough. Although the costumes aren't even. It makes sense for Mario to have the most. I mean, he's the mascot for video games as a whole. But why does baby Rosalina have more costumes than baby Luigi? Yoshi has all of his alternate colors as costumes, but Birdo and Shy Guy don't. Why does Donkey Kong, Mario's oldest rival, only have one costume? The random enemy racers also don't have costumes, but even then it's not fair. Shy Guy has 2 costumes, Koopa Troopa has 5, Lakitu has 2, but Goomba, Piranha Plant, and even Nabbit have none? Nabbit is playable! What are you doing? I'd argue that the Goomba is more deserving of costumes than whatever baby Rosalina is meant to be. The point I'm trying to make here is that the roster isn't balanced. Horrible sorting aside, the roster's also lacking in quite a few characters. I'm glad Stingby and Swoop are here, but there's no Koopalings. Kamek has been relegated to an item, and there's no Donkey Kong characters aside from the main ape himself. It's such a weird roster, it almost feels unfinished. The character you play as is almost as important as the track you race on, so having these large holes in it feels weird. At least Fisherman Lakitu has gotten me to care about this character for the first time ever, I think. Although, I do need to give Mario Kart World the flowers that it's due. This game is absolutely beautiful to look at. The game really is just visually stunning. The colors are nice, the texture work looks wonderful, and the lighting just enhances it all. The water, despite not being fun to drive on, looks incredible. It doesn't matter if it's the rushing river of Cheep Cheep Falls or the open sea. The graphics in this game are a real testament to what the Switch 2 can do. The soundtrack is also absolutely outstanding. If you'll have it, I'd like to play a couple excerpts from it for a couple minutes. If you don't like good tunes, you can skip it with the chapters. and that's Mario Kart World. There's a bit more I could discuss, such as the item pool with the worthless feather, coin box, and mega mushroom, but it overall feels very balanced. I would just say that Mario Kart World is a fine enough game that only starts to show its cracks once you dig beneath the surface. It has some really cool ideas, but executes them in really odd ways that I feel like hurt it more than help it. For example, I would like to see the open world idea expanded, not in size, but in what's available. More tracks, more unlockables, more stuff to do and see. And maybe much shorter intermissions if they ever decide to do that again. You know, that'd be cool.
Oh, Koopa Troopa Beach, hell yeah.
No, kill yourself, Moog. Don't you dare.
What'd he say?
Moog, come on.
Troopa Beach fans when they see a circle.
I know, this song is too good tonight.
Yes! But what about Sonic? You know, the second half of this video. Sonic Racing Crossworlds at first did not look super interesting. Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed is already probably one of the best kart racers out there, and with the failure that was Team Sonic Racing, I did not have high hopes. Then, I got my hands on the open network test and I was sucked into it. This game scratches every itch I have for a racing game, and I think it nails almost everything it was going for. It keeps the best aspects from games earlier in the franchise and adds new ones that are a blast. I think this game is worth the $70 USD price tag, although I will start with my complaints, namely the roster. The Sonic Prime characters are cool, and I'm probably the only Rusty Rose fan out there, and the crossover characters add fun flavor. I think they picked some really good choices to start with. Miku is a wildly popular character, and as someone who's gotten into Vocaloid music as of this year actually, it was really fun to see. Minecraft is the most popular game of all time. Persona 5 is wildly influential. Yakuza is extremely popular. SpongeBob is SpongeBob, and there's more on the way, including Mega Man, which I called earlier this year. Please reunite with Mega Man. I'm not gonna let that slide. I'm gonna bring this up again every time that I can. Although for the Sonic cast, it's a little odd. I'm glad the mainstays are here. Team Sonic, the Chaotix, although no Mighty, the 06 cast, Team Dark, Eggman's Empire, the Babylon Rogues, and 1/3 of the Deadly Six is pretty solid. I'm glad to see Sage here. She's quickly grown to become one of my favorite characters of the franchise, and I hope that she becomes a recurring character. However, there's a real lack of the weird picks. Eggpawn is the closest the cast has, but even then, it's a popular enemy from the franchise. I would have loved to see other Eggman creations, like, I don't know, Orbinauts, or bring in my goat Metal Knuckles. There's also no IDW characters in here, like, you know, Tangle, Whisper, Bell, Starline, Surge, not even the Phantom Rider, a character that was made specifically for a racing arc. They've all become quite popular over the years, so them not being included feels extremely strange. Same thing with the costumes. Each character has a single unlockable alt, being a glitchy looking single color skin of the AI racers from one of the game's modes. Unless you're Sage, in which case you have an alternate skin for beating all the Grand Prix Cups. This would be fine, but over the years, Sonic characters have gotten so many cool and unique looks. There's the obvious picks like the Knights from Sonic and the Black Knight, but the mobile games have had such fun skins that's a shame this outfit has nothing. Detective Vector, Ninja SBO, Reaper Metal Sonic, Treasure Hunter Knuckles, Outlaw Shadow, and Bassist Blaze, just to name a few. There's so much potential for these characters that remains untapped. There's also a real lack of villains. You've got rivals like Shadow and the Babylon Rogues, and a couple villains with Eggman, his goons, and 1/3 of the Deadly Six. But that's it. There's no Chaos, no Infinite, no Mephiles, no Black Doom. I'm not asking for Mammoth Mogul or Enerjack, just like the Koopalings of this universe. But with the most nerdy complaint out of the way, how does the game actually play? Really well is the answer. The game is fast, frantic, and has an insanely high skill ceiling. It's extremely customizable for you to create a build for. Want to hard focus speed? Max out your boost? Eat as many rings as you can? That's where the gadget plate comes in. You can unlock up to 6 slots for you to fit a build together. It's extremely fun to find a build that works for you, and with how many you can save, you can have multiple depending on how you want to change how you play. Do you want to be invincible by spamming level 4 boost one match, and then enter hyperspeed mode to do 15 billion air tricks the next match? The gadget plate is one of the big new features of Crossworlds that they nail perfectly. It's so rewarding to put together a kit, and there's so many tools to choose from. There's some gadgets that directly affect your racer or your cart, which is cool. They give unique changes to stats and bigger bonuses to racers and carts that match the same class. The game also puts a higher emphasis on the cart you choose instead of the racer. Sure, Knuckles will always lean more towards power, but if you want him to also run boost, then the extreme gear is perfect for that. Love Amy but don't think she's fast enough? Put her in a speed car. The vehicle customization in this game is insane. It's barely even a kart racer at this point. Like, this is not a kart. That's a whole car. And you can change its pieces, the colors, and put stickers all over it. You can change the horn and add a colorful aura to it. There's also 5 different types of vehicles to choose from, each one with its own unique pieces and stat changes to consider. The game puts a heavy emphasis on player freedom through vehicle customization and the gadget plate that just feels great to play. You can also find success with just about any combination. I've used speed the most, but recently I've also become a fan of power and boost. It's really all about what you want to use, and that freedom of player expression is what a game like this needs. But what about the things the player can't control? Things like the tracks and items, for example. The items are funky. A lot of them can feel perfectly fine, like the boxing gloves and the spike ball, but once you get to the rarer items, they can feel a little bit off. Level 3 bomb is a bit strong, the monster truck and drill feel way more powerful than they have any right to be, and the portals, oh no, the portals! There are 3 items that work in similar ways: the slime, the dark chow, and the weights. You use them, and they affect players in front of you with minimal ways to dodge them. The Dark Chow gives them items, the Slime slows them down and causes them to lose an item, and the Weights crush the players in first and second. These portal items are way too strong. You can't tell which one it is before they hit you, and the Slime slowing you down and taking an item is crazy, and the Weights have no need to exist since we already have the blue shell equivalent in this game. That's the Ghost, which I actually really like. It creates a couple of columns that you need to dodge, and if you time a boost right, you can avoid the initial hit like in Mario Kart. The yellow shuriken is also way too strong. Similar to the slime, it slows you down and takes an item, but its slowdown is way more severe than the slime. With the slime, you can quite easily shake it off, but the shuriken cuts your vehicle in half and it needs to rebuild itself. This item is frankly way too strong and needs to be nerfed, especially since it also homes in. What were they thinking? The tracks are pretty good. I like most of them. The ones I'm not huge on are the ones that have a weird driving area, like the Water Circles and Eggman Expo or Golden Palace. Overall though, I like quite a lot of the tracks in this game. Some of them are original, like Wonder Museum and Steampunk City, but a lot of them are lifted from previous games. For example, Mystic Jungle is from Sonic Forces, Digital Circuit is from Shadow the Hedgehog, and Cyberspace is from Sonic Frontiers. Some of this is asset reuse, like White Space is from Shadow Generations, but it's often for really fun picks, so I'm okay with it. Shoving a whole racetrack through the entirety of Kronos Island is such a fun idea, and this has become my favorite track in the game. Although they kind of went a bit too heavy with some games. 5 tracks are from Sonic Unleashed. That's insane! Market Street has become a bit of a reoccurring theme in the racing games, so I guess that's fine, and Apatos is just an iconic pick, so that's fine, but the Crossworlds are a bit odd. Sky Road was just in the last Sonic racing game. Dragon Road I like the best, but I hate it because of the evil time trial, and I don't think we needed Holoshka at all. No other game got this much love in the track department, not even Sonic Adventure 2, which is everybody's favorite Sonic game. That got 2 tracks, Metal Harbor and Radical Highway. I think they just need to choose their tracks a bit more carefully. Thank God there is no Green Hill, Chemical Plant, or Sky Sanctuary, but not having any tracks from the original 3 Genesis games is insane. No Starlight, no Flying Battery, no Mystic Cave. It almost feels like they were scared to touch these games after the backlash of their repetitive theming over the last several years. People weren't tired of the games, they were tired of the levels. Hopefully, we'll get more tracks through free updates or, God forbid, more DLC, but as it stands, I quite enjoy the track selection despite all that. Oh yeah, the DLC! Sonic Crossworlds has taken the bold plunge into DLC, outright confirming a season pass with new characters, vehicles, and tracks as time progresses. At the time, only the Minecraft DLC pack has been released, which for $6 USD you get Steve, Alex, and the Creeper as racers, the minecart and its parts as a vehicle, as well as some pretty good music for the juice box, and juice box? Oh my goodness. Music for the jukebox, and a new track that's honestly pretty good. I'd say that's a good price overall. They're also releasing free DLC every month. The paid DLC is focused on third-party characters like Minecraft, Mega Man, and SpongeBob, whereas the free DLC is focused on Sega-related characters like Hatsune Miku and Joker from Persona 5. Unfortunately, they only get a handful of songs, there's only one character, a vehicle and its parts, and no track. Although, hey, Sega, listen to me. Come closer. Jet Set Radio. Come on, announce it. I need that soundtrack. Although all of it is done through free updates, so I suppose you can't ask for a whole new track to be added every month, alongside multiple characters who need their own custom animations and voice acting. Sorry, hold on, my producer just handed me something to read. Oh, the crossover characters don't have voice acting. Yeah, this is probably one of the biggest marks people have against this game. In fact, it's not just the crossover characters, it's any character that isn't a member of the base roster. That's the free DLC characters, the paid DLC characters, the Sonic Prime characters, and the Werehog. That is a non-insignificant amount of characters, and it's frankly embarrassing. If they're not just outright mute, they instead use sound effects. This can make sense for some characters like Steve and Alex, but it makes characters like Joker feel incomplete. Miku at least kind of sounds like she's been voiced, since her voice is, in a way, a sound effect, but she doesn't say anything. She doesn't have any character interactions. The character interactions can really help you like a character. I haven't really ever been a fan of Silver, but I really like him in this game. Giving characters these interactions can greatly help people fall in love with characters even more, or find new ones to enjoy. If I'm unfamiliar with Persona, what about Joker aside from his design would be pulling me to go play it? It feels like they didn't really think it through, and I hope this gets rectified at some point in the future. Thankfully, one area they paid a ton of attention to is the music, and I'll be honest, I think this might be the best soundtrack from any Sonic game. Like with Mario Kart, I'll play some of my favorite tier, you can skip with the chapters below. And that's Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Overall, a pretty solid game with some small but noticeable drawbacks. It has a heavy emphasis on player freedom and expression, and I'd say it's an absolute joy to play. It has its issues, but I think without including the DLC, I'd still say this game is worth the price tag. Including the DLC is up to you, but I think the game is good enough to be worth it without the DLC. So in the end, which game do I think is better? I mean, it's obvious, right? You were watching the video, you saw the thumbnail, you heard me talk about it. The problems I have with Mario Kart World run way deeper than the problems I have with Sonic Racing Crossworlds. It's clear that the winner is Kirby Air Riders, baby! Only one of these games is King DDD.